Well, welcome again. So glad you guys are here. How was lunch okay? Brunch? So I am really grateful to have these. I've actually interviewed these three companies on stage a couple of times, but never with the ladies. So I'm going to let them introduce a little bit more about themselves, but we have Lisa Jurnika from Vacasa, Jen Ford from TurnKey, and Kyung Bishop from Vtrips. And these are three of the largest vacation rental management companies in the United States and right now in the world. So, and they're expanding rapidly, all three of their companies are. So Lisa, tell us a little bit about you and your background.
If we need this. Can you hear me without it? Or mic's better? Got it, okay. So yes, thank you for having us, Amy. My name is Lisa Jurnika. I'm the Chief Legal Officer at Vacasa, based in Portland. I have about 20 years experience in corporate, commercial, some real estate, a lot of software and licensing work. I've worked at emerging growth companies that I've taken private, one public, and one went out of business, sadly. But that's not one of my claim to fame. But I've had a lot of experience in different stages of companies. And what's really great about Vacasa is that we're at this amazing growth stage as an emerging growth company. And so it's been really fun to ride the wave of the vacation rental industry generally, and then also Vacasa's success. So that's me.
Thank you, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Ford. I'm Chief Financial Officer at TurnKey. TurnKey is a full-service property management company that's tech-enabled. We use our technology and our in-market teams to deliver superior guest and owner experiences. As Chief Financial Officer, I'm responsible for accounting, financial planning and analysis, business intelligence, human resources, and my favorite, facilities. I've been at the company for about a year and a half, but I'm not new to the industry. Prior to joining TurnKey, I spent about 5 years at HomeAway, where I was part of the finance organization and was deeply involved in the IPO. I ran investor relations there for about 3 years. We raised a lot of money, and ultimately, we also sold the company to Expedia. And prior to that, I worked in high tech for a long time. So I'm very excited to be continuing in travel. And for me, it's one of my great passions. I grew up in a household with 2 working parents, and they worked really long hours, but they weren't able to take their work on vacation with them. And when we were on vacation, we made some of the best memories of our life, and usually we stayed in homes because there were 5 kids in the family and we didn't fit very well into hotels. So for me, this is really something that drives me and is a passion of mine, and I love going to work every day to help other people create their memories of a lifetime.
Thanks, Jen.
Hi, my name is Kyung, Bishop-Milo. Probably many people know Steve Milo, Vtrips, but probably you might not know me because I was in backstage, but I started work with him when he has 3 property in Northeast Florida. So that was like 1996. And we have reformed vacation rental. At the time, the name is Vacation Rental Property Management. Start with a real estate company like Vacation Rental Pros and Vacation Rental Property Management. Now we are rebranding Vtrips. So we have a 5 states and 18 offices. I don't think we are the biggest one compared to TurnKey and Vacasa, but we are still been doing some multi-destinations, and I've been with all this transition throughout the beginning of just like everyone here, some hosting, they're starting with 1 properties. Just like Steve started with his own little property as well, and start from there, and now it's about 1,900 property in all the different places. So I was in the backstage all the time. So I'm very grateful that Amy invited me and sharing with you guys and some, insight what I've been through, and maybe I can share some thought with you. So I'm very thankful today.
And Steve is not here yet, right? So don't tell him what we talk about.
And welcome to the stage. We're
Yeah,
excited
exactly.
to have you. We're backstage.
Totally. So Lisa, how long have you been at Vacasa now?
About 8 months. Yes.
So this industry is relatively
It's-
new for you, right?
It's relatively new. I had stayed at Vacasa before knowing about the opportunity at Vacasa.
Oh, you actually stayed with them,
I did.
like that particular company.
Yes.
So what has surprised you the most about our industry? Like what really kind of was like, wow, I didn't know this.
So I'll put my legal surprises aside and first just from the business surprises, just how huge this industry opportunity is. It's you hear a number of quotes out there, estimates of the size, $120 billion opportunity for the vacation rental industry. There's like 23,000 property management companies. I had no idea of how big the opportunity is, and the fact that we're now moving in a direction where we have generations of people who are preferring and choosing vacation rentals. Like, you're seeing more and more millennials, Gen Z. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
Yeah. So that was my biggest surprise of just, what an opportunity there is for the vacation.
Yeah, and still such a lack of awareness. And Jen, you've been on this road for a while with all of us. I was at HomeAway when the HomeAway purchased Instant Software back in the day, and I didn't stay quite as long as you. But watching it grow from that side and then getting into property management, like what have you found that what did you not know at HomeAway that you know now?
Yeah. Well, I think at HomeAway I learned a lot about the opportunity. As Lisa talks about, it is a massive opportunity. Travel is a great industry to be part of. People want to spend their money on experiences rather than things. And within travel, vacation rentals are the fastest growing. So I think HomeAway really taught me how big that opportunity was globally. And so I think that always excited me. It also really ignited my passion for travel and being able to combine that with my work, which was wonderful. Before that, I had worked in high tech and wasn't really doing what I was passionate about. And I think, I also took away from HomeAway the lessons of the importance of leadership and building great cultures. So I really had a good experience there, and the leadership I saw there is something that I want to bring to the companies that I worked in. But in terms of, what did I learn and what have I brought to the company? Interestingly enough, between HomeAway and TurnKey, I worked at an omni-channel healthy food concept, and we had 45 retail locations. So we had employees across many different markets and in different locations. And so that actually prepared me a lot for being a multi-destination property manager, because a lot of the challenges you face are making sure that you consistently execute on your standards. And that was something that we had to do very well to create perfectly cooked meals every day in several different kitchens and deliver them to 45 different locations. And so I actually learned a lot from an operations and logistics perspective at my last experience at Snap Kitchen. And so that was also a great experience to bring to the table for what I'm doing now, because as a multi-destination property manager, a lot of the challenges really are around people. This is a hospitality company. At the end of the day, we use technology to deliver a great experience both for owners and guests, but it really comes down to people. It's the boots on the ground, and you need to make sure that you're training your employees, you're engaging them. They understand what the brand stands for and what the promise is to both owners and guests. And so I feel like, really nailing that and how you approach that is incredibly important in this business.
Well, staying on that topic for a minute, your founders, TJ Clark and John Banzak, were tech guys coming into the space. And I mean, most of us have watched the TurnKey story for a little bit of time, that they really believed that they could almost technologize a lot of the industry. I think were they not a little surprised too at how much of a touch business this can be?
TJ loves to tell the story about the early days when he would get a call in the middle of the night and have to go plunge a toilet. So I think they get it, right? The people part is definitely important. And so I think we look at it as as a combination, right? We want our technology to make the experience better for guests. So having a digital lock on every home so ease of entry is there. That said, we also know there needs to be someone available 24/7 if a guest has issues, and that's where people come into play.
Do you think that needs to be a local person that's available 24/7?
Do I think it needs to be local? Not for every question, but I think at the end of the day, if there is an issue that needs someone to be there, we believe it's important to have that. That doesn't mean you couldn't centralize, certain parts of it, receive a call and decide what to do. Do I need to dispatch someone or do I not? Some questions certainly can be answered over the phone. But for us, I think that hospitality is important, right? What we're trying to do is professionalize an industry. We want to make sure that we deliver a very consistent experience across all of our properties in our more than 50 plus locations. And in order to do that, it's doing the same thing, doing it well, and doing it again and again and every time. And so I think technology helps us execute on that. But again, it comes down to the people.
Kyung, you've been in operations. I mean, you call it backstage, but it's not backstage for most of us. I think that Steve handles a lot of the marketing and revenue management, right? And you pretty much have led the integrations of the companies that you've purchased, the onboarding of new employees, the customer service, owner relations across the board. I mean, you've been that person. Right. And you did it a long time before HomeAway, Airbnb, Booking.com were really in play.
Yeah, we started when recession. At the time, we have match price, you name it price. Yeah, you name it. Yeah, that's what.
Right, name your own price.
Yeah.
So how have you seen the touch side of the business, or has it changed? It's like everyone, there's a whole lot of this whole discussion about scalability and centralization. And as you've grown more organically than some of the other companies have grown, have you seen it change? Have you seen customer service and operations change?
Yeah, I mean, customers' service definitely changed because of now you're talking about multi-destination. And lots of people here, they probably know customers calling and they're asking about the local question. So it's now different way to answer. If you're centralized, most of the time they don't know the answer sometimes. It's just, that is the biggest trouble right now for HomeAway and Airbnb, and even you have a customer service in centralization, and it's difficult to answer a certain specific question of the specific house. So this is what we are having a little trouble. But I really think that understanding local culture is extremely important when you become a multi-destination company. So company really need to understand this multi-destination, local-driven, local culture to help them to more like a centralized and hub and spokes model. So that is really critical, I believe. So, it's company getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then everything is automated for the profitability. But we really need to understand local-driven culture as well.
Lisa, you mentioned some of the legal challenges, and we've seen some different issues across the industry. Do you think that we're maybe seeing or about to see more litigation around regulation? Sorry, that was all my buzzwords in one sentence.
Yeah, no, on litigation, I'm not sure that we're there yet, because I think in terms of the regulation, it's going to take some time first to kind of get all of the regulation under control where, people are still voting even here in New Orleans. Like, they just recently passed some changes to the laws, city council, on not having whole home rentals in the Garden District and French Quarter. But I think there's some time before you see actual litigation on this or enforcement about these regulations. I think we're going to see more regulation rather than less. And it's very interesting, you're seeing the regulation in the cities, you're seeing like what happened in Japan. It's kind of interesting how they essentially decided, well, they had the law that was going into effect, and people were not prepared. And so, as you saw, Airbnb had to take off all these listings. I'm
Yeah,
sure
what was the loss on that? Like 1.8?
Oh, yeah.
It was high.
It was incredible. But speaking of like culture and needs to like know what the communities want, an interesting thing about the Japan experience was that not just did the owners have to file registrations and like comply with all these health and safety codes, they also needed to provide maps in English. Maybe you guys heard about this, but maps in English for tourists so that they wouldn't bother residents asking for directions. Like this was a requirement as
That's
part of
hospitality.
it. So it's just, you never know. And as we're becoming more global, like you do have to factor what is going to work in these. It actually drives where you decide to move into, the markets you decide to move into. But yeah, I think we will be seeing enforcement. I think right now there's still a lot of this scrambling to just put together what is going to work between all the stakeholders.
Do you see Vacasa as having a major role in the destinations that you manage properties in the regulation crafting, working with
Like
communities
an advocacy.
yeah.
So we have actually started to enter the foray on doing more advocacy work locally, but it's much more grassroots and it's much more working with our owners to kind of find out from them what is the best way to work through these. We don't like to be, front and center.
It's been interesting though, because like HomeAway, Expedia, and Airbnb have really taken the lead in a lot of these communities as far as fighting these regulations.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, that there's a double-edged sword to that
There
to some
is,
degree.
because they don't always have the same interests aligned as we
For
do.
instance, the second homeowner versus the primary homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
Airbnb has gone into some destinations and actually really fought for the rights of the primary homeowner,
San Diego.
yeah, to rent their own property, but then taking away the rights of the second homeowner who's not in the property. And that's been more urban, but it certainly has been happening across the world.
But I do feel optimistic when you're seeing these new generations who are more and more interested in doing vacation rentals versus their traditional lodging. I think we're going to see a consumer demand, the same way you saw with like Uber and others. I think there's going to be this consumer demand that's going to balance the competing interests of hotel. I feel kind of sacrilegious talking about hotels in a hotel, but I think you're going to see... We love you, the Ritz.
Well, to be fair, the Ritz-Carlton was one of the hotels, I got criticism later, who actually was against the regulations or the
crack.
anti-vacation rental in New Orleans. Is anyone here from New Orleans and working on this? Yeah, so it is interesting to see, like you said, the stakeholder, who considers themselves to be a stakeholder in the regulatory battle. Jen, are you guys active in the local communities that?
I think it's a similar approach where we tend to work with owners and do a more grassroots approach.
I like to share with one of my experience here about the regulation, and I think it's really. I have one tweeting from Matt. He's saying today's regulation, maybe tomorrow is no regulation. I really think that is kind of catches me because Steve and I personally, we go to each hearing. Whenever we have some issue, we go there individually, each county, and talk about the regulation. I really think that it's not up to authority, it's up to us. The one county, like a Flagler County, where we in down south, where we from, and typically this regulation start from people complain. It's just people. It's not from authority. Just if we're not complaining, they wouldn't do anything. But some homeowners goes there complaining about trash, or even not even entire complaint. It's one or two owners go down and complain. And this authority, they have to do something about it because they're the voter and they're the residents. So ended up we lost the battle in Flagler County, But I just went to St. Johns County hearing, and I noticed there's so many hosts or property managers is just even attending there's more than just complainer. So I kind of surprised that authorities more into our side. So we can kind of turn around to, to win this situation. I mean, we wanted to work with this authority and regulatory stuff because we wanted to have a good community. But we have to, moderate what kind of regulation. Sometimes it's just what she said is just ridiculously difficult, or some down south, your registration application fee is about $1,000. It's not feasible. So I think it's a matter of we get together and educate each other, just be there and talk about it, what we do. I think that's really critically helpful.
Shift over a little bit to this whole idea of fast growth and funding, and we're going to talk about the funding opportunity tomorrow, and in terms of how to raise money and what kind of funding is good and what kind of funding is bad. But you guys have raised 207.5 to date, 72, if I'm not mistaken. Looking at the million, sorry, since you're not counting as much as I am. And you've got private equity money, or you've got commercial lending, some investment in the business as well. So you guys haven't, when you're looking at a lot of the property managers who have built their business, one property at a time, I'm kind of wondering where you see the future of the industry. If you think that, like the hotel industry, where you've got the flag, the management company, the development company, do you think we're headed there? Or do you think maybe, I'm gonna start with you, Jen, that scalability and profitability, are they exclusive at this point? Can you scale to be a large multi-destination company right now without taking on funding?
Yeah, I think they're not exclusive, right? But I do think with scale, you have much more likelihood of profitability, particularly when you're investing in things like technology and world-class teams across multiple destinations. That is a sizable commitment and investment, and in order to essentially pay for that, you need to reach a certain scale. I also think, what we're trying to do is essentially create a brand within the vacation rental space. And you need scale to do that. You have to be across multiple destinations so that the guest going to Destin who has a wonderful experience says, wow, that was a great experience, I'm going to book with TurnKey again. They need to be able to turn around and now book in Steamboat or book in Monterey Bay or some other location. And so I do think scale is important for what we're trying to accomplish. And I think that the investment in technology is important because, again, this is a high-touch business. It's hospitality, and that technology is what's going to allow us to become more efficient and deliver that incredible experience, but do it in a way that's profitable. So I think those early investments that TurnKey made were incredibly important and a very strategic decision that we feel is really paying off. But it does mean that it required outside funding. It also fuels growth, of course. So, we didn't take in funding just for the technology investment, but it's also to enter new markets, and that helps us with that brand awareness and building out that scale.
Kyung, do you think there's a place for the boutique or the smaller or the in-market property manager going forward? And I mean like 5 years down the road. Or are we just going to see massive consolidation?
It's just, that's my question as well sometimes because of, this scalability. I mean, you have you call it mega property management. Is that what you call it? It's not necessarily that can be profitable. I really believe that company need to be profitable from culture standard, company's culture and company mindset. So, in fact, clearly, when you, as you grow, you'll gain some kind of synergies, area of marketing, accounting and IT and centralized reservation. So you bring more incremental profit. So you make more money, but you also need to think about expenses as well. So that is not really profitable. But my question is just kind of curious. I'm not really sure this large venture capital is sometimes is this they see that large revenue number is more attractive to large market, even less profitable. So I think some company is chasing for that to the venture capital. So so I'm really not sure on that. But I know that we have to be profitable, even you're in a single host or property managers. But all these big things, is really, I'm not sure what is really the right way to go and where to go. Market, as you all know, is changing dramatically here.
Well, and we also, the hotel, industry looks a lot towards occupancy rate. So I believe that they're looking for that 65, 70% occupancy rate when they go into a new hotel market to try to get that. On the vacation rental side, it's typically much lower than that in a destination. However, the ticket value for a vacation rental is a lot higher, so there's a little bit of give and take there. Lisa, you guys have acquired how many companies now?
125 to date. We did 52 in 2018.
What's the attrition when you bring on a new company? Do you know yet?
I couldn't give you an exact figure on that. We do our best to retain as much as we possibly can. Yeah.
So in these acquisitions, what do you look for in a company that you're buying to meet some of these standards, these metrics that we're talking about?
So it goes to systems, and we're looking at what their systems are in place. First and foremost, we're looking at the owner, the employees, the contracts that they have. Because when we go in, we're not looking to just cut things. We actually go in because we want to continue to operate that business. Eventually, we bring things under the fold, but we want to be able to take it day one and continue the business. So it's very important to us that we're focusing on the people, we're focusing on the owner, because in a great number of our deals, the owner, the operator continues on with us for at least a year at some point.
How many of you in here are property managers? Have you been approached by Vacasa to have your company purchased?
Is that a positive?
Well, I'm wondering, there's kind of a spray and pray philosophy a little bit on the marketing side, right? So it's like you throw out a ton of marketing out to the property managers. Some of them call you back, and then I guess from there's a weed-in process. By the way, the tech companies, that's also happening on the vendor side. There's a private equity coming in to purchase a bunch of technology companies. They're doing the same thing. I even got a letter, and I'm pretty sure they don't want to buy VR So anyway, what I'm asking though is in that kind of spray and pray philosophy, how many property managers do you think are in the United States? Property management companies?
23,000 is what I read.
So. Which came from a study that is questionable, but Focusrite put it out there, so we all use it in our pitch decks now.
I know. We all read the same thing, so we have the same numbers.
But when you look at the ones that manage over 25 or 50 properties, that number starts to get a whole lot smaller along the way.
Only 10% are managing 100 and more. Yeah.
So I was just kind of, when you put that out there and people come back, is that when you start the vetting process of when you're kind of really looking to see if you actually do want to acquire them?
Yeah, I think the process actually starts before we send out that mass reach out. We're looking specifically, we're targeting areas where we want to grow, either because we have existing market there and we want to enhance that market, or we want to enter a new market where we see a company that's really got a good thing going on, and we can day one come in and be part of that business, take that business with us. So that, we do vetting before, during, and then there's integration, right? That's
right.
The typical process. And we like our sellers to vet us too, because we want to make sure that this is a good thing for them, on both sides of the table. And I think Zach Monahan from our team at Vacasa did a really great webcast on for sellers on surviving an acquisition, and gave some really helpful hints for when you're going through it on the other side, and what to do and what to look for from your purchaser.
Jen, when you got when TurnKey has pretty much gone to a total organic growth strategy, is that correct? And not really looking to source a lot of acquisitions at this point.
Yeah, we have been growing primarily organically.
Why did you decide to go that route instead of picking up some other property management companies around there?
Yeah, we feel that we have a really compelling offering, so we can go in and pitch that to homeowners and grow at a really nice clip. We've been very happy with our growth rate. And I think, to Kyung's point also, for us, I think we have a pretty methodical approach in how we do things with a level of discipline, and so it lends itself very well to organic growth. We have a business model that we execute against when we go into new markets. In existing markets, we have expectations about where we should be and how quickly we get there. And so that model's worked very well for us. That doesn't mean we haven't done some opportunistic acquisitions. We have done some, but our model really has been based on organic growth.
When you pick up a new market and you go in and you hire a sales manager, general GM, business dev person, in that market, what is your expectation in the first year that salesperson is? How many properties do you expect that person to bring in a year?
I think I would be giving away company trade secrets if I told you our magical formulas.
Like 50 plus, 100 plus?
But we definitely do have pretty specific targets that we put in place. And it's largely, we want to make sure we find the right general manager who has the experience, but also we need to support them from a marketing perspective and make sure we're providing all of the marketing and leads ahead of even entering into that market. And so we do have, again, a playbook on how we do this that has worked very well for us.
Do any of you guys have any questions for this group? Yeah.
Hi, my name's Lauren. I'm with R&R Vacation Rentals in South Lake Tahoe, and we have had for the past year very strict regulations for vacation rentals, and just lost.
I don't even know what happened in South Tahoe.
It's been terrible.
Well, you know what happened, but.
Well, it was just so bad. It went so south so quickly.
Right, and we are very specifically a vacation destination. That's what people come up here to do. So I wouldn't say we're panicked, but we are definitely asking questions. When you both mentioned that you are kind of working with your owners to help fight that battle. Can you expand on that a little bit, and what has worked? What are you doing to involve the owners in that process?
We do that too. Typically, when you change the rule and regulation, they have survey. And lots of complainer is retired people, and at homeowner we work with, it's more like business. They're busy. They're not there. That's why we're there to work. They're managing their properties. They're busy, so they're not tends to participate. So we're asking for participation. So survey, even go there and talk about it. It's just not like we're not trying to make lots of money. This little bit of income help my daughter's tuition and help this, and just talk about it. All human, this authority, they're a human being. And it was really interesting that sometime we won too. Steve's won Venice, Florida Venice case. We won in city, and we have some good money from the city. Basically, and then we'll talk about those kind of things, point it out to them what you can lose too. Then they really, I was so surprised how powerful we can present if we're together. So we're trying to the owner to same way they can participate. Survey, so basically we have a survey result coming out, and 70% is, out of local full-time residents, then outside the owners. So we're just asking for participation.
Yeah, and what we find is we will supplement, we will provide documentation, we will prep, but really the owner is going to be the most powerful in this process. We are not going to be as powerful because they see us as the outside interest trying to make money off of this structure. So that is typically our approach. I don't know if you guys have different.
No, I don't think I have anything to add to that. I think that's right on.
I realize that property manager ourselves is very important as well, because the last meeting was about 10 dozen property managers there, and we express what we can bring to community. We can do a lot of things. I mean, we can basically economic growth. We'll do this. Their issue is trash, noise, on all these things. But they don't know what we do. Like we have this noise, software as monitor noise, and we all have those.
Yeah.
So we just pointed out those, and they just make sense. So even property manager all together. I mean, some property managers only depend on bigger property manager, go there, lobby, and put
Yeah.
some money there.
But no doubt,
Yeah.
trying to make sensical arguments to a city council is
Right.
like talking to a 2-year-old.
Yeah,
It is the most unbelievably difficult, and we've watched a lot of we've been engaged in your videos, which are it's definitely the situation in South Tahoe as well. It's like you take all of these, like noise, trash, parking taxes, right? I mean, and you throw all that up and you give them solutions for all of it. But you're right, those like 5 or 10 like really loud people who show up at their offices every day,
Yeah, so
they can't seem to get past it.
So our voice at the time was so loud. This is the homeowners who complain, and they cannot do the bother because we bring it up so much good things to educate authority and everyone. So I think it was really good and important. We just, every individual just go there and participate and talk about it, educate them. We're not the bad guy. We're here. We're the same human being trying to make little money. So I think it's understandable.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I would add is that I think it's important that we're all good neighbors, right? And I think
And your guests are good neighbors.
we put a lot of emphasis on that in terms of, again, we leverage technology largely to make sure that we understand what's happening in the home, the noise monitoring and things like that. But it's also important that we educate our guests to understand what some of the local regulations are. But also, it is the 1 or 2 exceptions that tend to create trouble. And I think understanding the data of how many successful stays there are where there are no issues and what that means for the local economy is important. And so I think that's one way we can help, because we do have all of that data and can show the good that's being done and what percentage these problems are of the total activity that's occurring. And so I think that's important. But above all else, right, we want to be good neighbors. We want vacation rentals to be able to coexist with the rest of the community. And so I think it's important as property managers, whether you're large or small, that we all do the right thing so that we're welcome in the community.
Basis.
It's every day. It's doing the right thing. It's making sure guests know where they can and cannot park, and making sure that trash is picked up, and all of those things that need to happen to be a good neighbor.
We do have a regulatory session too on Wednesday that I think is going to be really interesting with this group as well. I do want to talk about future plans, where you're headed. Vtrips.
Oh, okay.
Are you acquiring new companies now? You guys have taken a little hiatus and decided to...
We still do both. We're planning to organic growth and acquisition. And we really recognize right now is kind of the problem is shortage of supply. I mean, as you all know, we're just fighting for supply. I mean, everyone fighting for supply. I mean, HomeAway fighting for supply, and Airbnb, and everyone. So because of, we are losing this regulatory, and also people moving in as a primary residence, and lots of them is retrofitted, and it's not really suitable for the vacation rental. So we're focusing right now is more toward to purpose-built in the targeted area to solve a little bit of problem.
Do you see a Vtrips being acquired in the next 5-6 years? I don't know. Well, so Lisa, obviously with your IPO experience and with some rumors at Vacasa about an IPO, we have to ask the question. Although Eric at Focusrite seemed to be a little bit like, well, maybe not.
There's been a little cooling off.
So what are you thinking on this right now?
Yeah, so the current feeling is that we don't need to do it. I think it's a possibility. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to prepare, and we're doing those things just as good corporate governance, putting in place better systems, and so I can see us being able to and prepared to. Financially, we could, if market conditions were right. But once you're public, in my experience, like, you live and die by the quarter. Your life changes.
I did a white paper on Resort Quest, and everybody I interviewed that was in our world and went to the publicly traded world, they're like, it's all reporting from then on. Like, there's nothing else you do. I can't even imagine.
At all.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it's not that it's unattractive. It's just, it's not like right now. It's not the focus.
So not 2019.
I mean, you never know, right? Something can
market
happen.
Conditions are a little weird right now, too, right?
It is right. The market conditions have to be right. But no, I mean, this is...
Do you think Airbnb will IPO this year?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, we keep hearing.
So Jim, where's TurnKey headed?
Yeah, well, so we're in growth mode, very much so. And, again, we're building a brand. That's really what we're doing. And we want to enter new markets and continue to grow the properties that we manage and reach more homeowners and guests. So we're very focused on that and doing it in a way that's self-sustaining. So my goal as CFO is to make sure that if we want to go public, we're prepared to do that. But, we're not managing to a certain outcome. We're really focused on growing a really successful business.
How big should a company be in our industry to be a publicly traded company?
I mean, I would say any of us could enter the process.
There's not really a standard there for going in that direction.
I don't know, Lisa, what do you think is the rule of thumb? I mean, the rule of thumb I often hear is 100 million in revenue. But I think, it's more than just revenue. It's the market opportunity, it's growth, it's profitability, it's the leadership team. There's a lot more to it. And having been through a public company experience, being private, IPOing and going through it, there's pros and cons, and you have to weigh all of those things when you're making these kind of decisions. And so I think, again, as CFO, I feel like it's my job to make sure that we're prepared if it's something that we end up wanting to do. It's the same sort of preparation I would want in case someone wants to acquire us, that we also are prepared in that manner, but really we're not focused on that day to day. We don't sit around talking about that day to day. We're focused on delivering great guest and owner experience and making sure we have the best NPS possible. That really is what we talk about day in and day out.
And I know we're out of time, but that NPS thing is something that I do want to ask you. Is a last thing. You're monitoring NPS, Net Promoter Scores? Mm-hmm. You are? Are you guys doing it? A lot of people in our industry are not doing it. I was just, that is something that I think that we should hit on maybe in a webinar in the future about that, because it's not something that's widely done in the industry, but it is a standard metric that I think you guys are benchmarking a lot of your success on. I can't thank you so much. I know it's not fun to be on the hot seat sometimes.
It's been fun. Thank you.
I really appreciate it. They'll be around to answer some questions for you guys, and our next session starts at 1:15. Thank you.
Thank you.